Hello, my name is June. I'm a videographer of sorts. This video has to do with productivity. So this video won't be presenting any tips per se. Those will be for a different video of its own. Today, I'm more interested in discussing kind of the mindsets or the values behind productivity. What are the driving forces behind it? And how do these values manifest themselves in the form of productivity? So I've been self-isolating for about a month now. And during this period, I've created, I think, 19 videos for YouTube to date. In addition to that, though, I've been working on So I think it's fair to say that I've had a relatively productive time during self-isolation. And I mean, my personality has always kind of been geared for that, but to actually accomplish that has been something new for me. So it really made me kind of sit down and think and wonder what changed, what led to this state of constant productivity. So it kind of boils down to three things. The first one being creative freedom. So I just made a video kind of discussing why I'm quitting videography, any sort of freelance work, as well as any just employment in that field. And one thing that came up was that I've been having so much fun. And a lot of that I think I can attribute to the fact that I had full creative freedom. And it was the first time in a while that I've had that kind of creative freedom and the time to actually implement that freedom and to create something from it. And to add on to creative freedom, I think it was the fact that I allowed myself to really wander creatively as well as just content-wise and subject matter-wise. There was an overarching intent behind everything, but in terms of the actual individual videos, they're very much kind of just bouncing all over the place. And I just allowed myself to wander and just let go. And through that, I found enjoyment. So the first thing that really contributed to productivity, I think, was enjoyment, which was a byproduct of creative freedom. The second one is more of desperation. So a few months ago, I met up with the closest thing I have to a mentor, a photographer named John Yu. I'll link his stuff in the description below or on the screen here. I meet up with him from time to time and we just kind of talk about business or just life in general. This particular meeting a couple months ago, we're talking about career. And he's a photographer that I met at the very beginning of his career as a wedding photographer. And I've witnessed his growth into becoming who he is today. When I first met him, he was a barista at Starbucks in Abbotsford. And right now he's living in Vancouver downtown. He has a nice car and he shoots on purely Leica. So I guess that's a somewhat vain way to exemplify his success or to paint a picture of it, but I think it's a very clear depiction of it. So I was asking him about his journey in becoming who he is today. And he was recounting, I think, his first wedding season or second wedding season. I think he had about 6 weddings booked, and all of a sudden his wife became ill and could no longer work. So he was telling me about this emotion and this realization that he had that he really needed to step up. He needed to book more weddings. He needed to provide for his family. And the exact number escapes me, but I'm pretty sure he doubled his weddings, if not more, in the following months that ensued. And I asked him how, and he wasn't really sure exactly how. It just kind of happened, he said. The way he described it almost sounded like there was some sort of fervor, some kind of feverish work ethic that suddenly popped up and kind of going out of his way to actually book weddings, pretty much just pulling out all the stops to book more weddings. And clearly it worked. So the reason I'm recounting this story and why it left such a deep impression on me is that that's kind of how I'm feeling about this past month and going forward. There is a certain level of desperation right now. And I think that's a reaction to the fact that I'm openly saying and internally saying that I don't want to pursue a career that has to do with videography. I don't want to become a freelancer of any sort. I don't care what brands I'm working with. I don't want to be employed at an agency or in-house. I don't really care. I just don't want videography to be the way I make money. Now, realizing that is great, but really I just gave up the only way that I had, the only method I had to make money. That's my main skill set and I've invested so much into it. So to say that I don't want to do that anymore is kind of like saying, hey, I'm going to be bankrupt for the next little bit. So with those statements and that realization, it really comes quick. It just seeps into your mind that, okay, well, I have no way to make an income now. Now I've really got to make steps and moves in order to make an income. And even if you may not know what those steps might look like exactly, this desperation forces you to find out quickly and forces you to move. And it's very hard to turn it off. You're always on 24/7. That's the only thing you're thinking about. And it's strange because even though you're thinking about it, you're not really thinking about it. It's very much akin to an autopilot. If there is one for humans, you're just moving. You just keep going. It's on to the next and you're planning the next steps. And for me, I just have this overarching picture of what I'm trying to do. And I think as the result as well of years and years of reading about this stuff or hearing about this stuff or just witnessing this type of stuff, but never being able to attain it myself. I feel like a lot of us know how to get there. There's so much information out there and so many examples out there that it'd be kind of foolish or unbelievable that you would not know of a way to get there to any level of reasonable success. So point being, I think a lot of us know how to get to where we want to go. We've internalized it and we've had so many discussions around it and we've dreamt about it and we thought about it that there's no way for us not to know. It's just what has kept us back then. And I think for me personally, it has been excuses, it has been laziness, it has been distractions. But now being in this state, it's kind of just like those things don't matter. Sure, I have a lazy day, then I'll take that lazy day because I know the value of it, but I know that I can't use that same excuse the next day. My computer has problems, my camera has problems, I'll use my phone. I have creative block, I don't have any ideas, then just stream of consciousness and write whatever and just do it. And really it comes down to just do it. Nike's really hit it out of the park with that slogan. That's what it comes down to. And that's what desperation leads to, I think, where you don't question things as much anymore. You just act on it. You just do it. I guess just to sum this section up, when you are in a position of desperation, when you are actually feeling that, when you are living that, where you feel like you have no choice but to be productive, all tips, all tricks, all mantras, all excuses just kind of melt away. When you're desperate enough, you'll do things, and if there are obstacles in your way, you'll find a way to overcome them. It's kind of on the same topic, but the third one and the final one is a source of motivation, a sort of North Star, if you will. In many ways, I think it's this third and final thing that informs that desperation, that fuels that desperation, that gives significance to that desperation. So returning to that photographer, his North Star was his wife at that moment and her health and the well-being of their immediate family unit. Although I'm sure that there are many other things around that decision. For me, the equivalent is, again, the loss of my career, so to speak, in the only industry that I know how to operate in. But the foundation of everything is my love for family. It is the value of being able to support my family as well as bring little material joys to my family and just to provide. Right now, it's my immediate family. The idea of being able to retire my parents, it seems a little bit late, but that idea and all the values that are intertwined with that really does drive me. For me, that is joy, and that's something worth pursuing and worth attaining. The other side of this is the future family. If there is a future, then I want to be able to provide for that future. And the last one is for myself. I have a podcast, and on one of the episodes, I was joking about how I quit my job, and right away I dropped $5,000 onto a camera setup that I didn't buy in order to make money. I bought in order to have fun. So for me, this camera thing is really about documenting the stuff I love, and I want to be able to document things in the way that I see them. Unfortunately, that comes at the cost of image quality and all these other things. So for me, equipment and expensive equipment is hard to justify from a financial standpoint, but it's very easy to justify from my values and who I am and who I've become. So unfortunately, as much as I try to say that I don't like money and I don't need a lavish lifestyle, in order for me to uphold these three values, I do need money. And I do need to succeed financially. And that's something that I remind myself of when I am feeling tired. That's something I've internalized. And as the days go by, I have to remind myself less and less. But definitely, I think there are times that I do need to remind myself to regain my footing. Moving here, for example, has been somewhat of a challenge to completely adjust because I've lost that 100% flexibility in my schedule. So these past few days, I've had to kind of remind myself that, yeah, this is why I'm doing it. This is why I need to do this. This is why I have to record this video right now, even if I am a little bit tired. So yeah, quick little spiel on productivity. I will be making a video on kind of more tangible tips on how to be productive and what I find myself implementing in this little spurt of mine. But today I thought this would be a more appropriate topic, and I think is a very important one for many of us to consider and think about. Because without a combination of these things, enjoyment, desperation, and purpose, I don't think any number of tips will help you in the long term. Perhaps in the short term, tips will get you to that next level. But to be able to sustain that and really apply it and make it a part of who you are, I think is much more difficult without those things. At least in my experience, I think lacking some of these things lead to a certain lack of awareness of how I'm doing, of what I'm feeling, of what my goal is, and that leads to burnout, which is probably the last thing that we want. Anyways, that's it from me today. Again, more of a discussion, more of a thought piece. If you like these, please let me know. If you have any topics that you might be interested in hearing my thoughts about, please suggest them. And finally, I hope that this has been helpful to you. If it has been, please support me in some way. I'm pretty sure you guys know how. And have a wonderful day. Thank you. Bye-bye.